All right, it says we are live. Give me a 5x5 if you can hear me, and we're going to go ahead and get started. What we're going to talk about today is Elon Musk's "Should President Trump Return to Twitter" poll. And this is fascinating and frustrating all at the same time. And the reason I titled this video, "This should scare everybody to their core." I don't mean being fearful to where you're, it's paralysis by analysis and you can't do anything and you can't go anywhere. I just mean this needs to sober everybody up. The apparent results of this poll is startling and it's sobering. 5x5, thank you. Appreciate it, Gray Dude. What's up, Dorf? Irish, Mike, Scotty, dialed in, breaking the flow. Everybody's here. All right, I appreciate you guys being here on such short notice, but I wanted to look at this. What we're looking at is the reinstate former President Trump Twitter poll in real time. It's already got 466,000 likes. There have been 12.1 million people who voted for this poll, and it's almost half and half, which means almost half of 12 million, which is 6 million people who have voted. When this is a pretty good sampling of people, this is a pretty substantial poll. 47, almost 50% of the people say no, former President Trump should not be reinstated onto the Twitter platform. In other words, he needs to continue to stay in silence, in forced silence on this platform. Can he speak on other platforms? Yes. Is he speaking on other platforms? Yes. But these people are actually saying they're okay with forcing someone into silence, because that's what it means when you aren't for freedom of speech. Brooklyn Audit, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the support, you guys. I'll try to, at the end of this, if you guys send a super chat, I'll try to remember to read every single one of them. But let me make sure I go into this right here. All right. So what we got to talk about here is we have a basic fundamental right, not because we're Americans, because you might be watching this in Australia or New Zealand. I got a lot of people from Canada watching this, but you have a basic human right, not an American right, but a human right. And that is to be able to express yourself, whether somebody accepts your expression or is offended or is appalled by your expression or not. Because your right to speak freely equals nobody else has the right to force you into silence, even if by a third party. Because most people won't come to you and silence you themselves. They'll request that a politician makes a law to drive you into silence, or that a platform owner works the algorithms to force you into silence. The bottom line is they believe that you need to be forced into silence. And even over and above that, they're not just talking about the person being forced into silence, but they want the millions of people who want to listen to an Alex Jones or a Jordan Peterson or a Barack Obama or a Donald Trump or a Joe Biden. They want all those listeners to not be able to have access to the person they want to listen to. So this goes over and above silencing a Donald Trump or a Jordan Peterson or a Babylon Bee or whatever, which incidentally, there's a tweet that he put out. He says, Kathy Griffin, let me see. Kathy Griffin, Jordan Peterson, and the Babylon Bee have been reinstated. And then he says, there's so many layers to this. It's not just that you have freedom of speech. It's not just that people don't have the right to force you into silence, even if it's done by a third party, because that's still force. Those people who want to force you into silence, by the way, they don't want somebody to force them into silence, so they're breaking the golden rule. What if they say something that offends you? And you want to get a third party, a politician, a legislator, a lawmaker, a platform owner to silence them? They wouldn't want that. And if they say they would, they're liars or they're crazy. Nobody wants to be forced into silence. Everybody wants to be able to say what they want to say, even if what they say hurts somebody's feelings. And if you think that what I'm saying here is wrong and you disagree with it, leave a comment in the comment section. Leave it in the room right now. That's why we're going live with this, because I want to talk about this. I think this is like of premium importance. If you don't have freedom of speech, if you don't have the freedom to offend, you don't have anything. And you never will have anything. And we might as well be living in China if you want somebody to protect you from hate speech or whatever that is. So he says, Kathy Griffin, Jordan Peterson, the Babylon Bee have been reinstated. And the reason I said there's multiple layers to this is nobody wants to be forced into silence. Everybody's got an unalienable right, according to the Declaration of Independence, to freedom of speech, among other things. And the third layer is freedom is not up for vote and should never be legitimately up for vote. I don't care if the majority says you should be silenced because you hurt 99.9% of the people out there's feelings. 0.0001% is standing on the moral high ground of, yes, I do have the right to freedom of speech, just like you have the right to freedom of speech. And if you try to force the 0.001% into silence, then that 99.999% who forced them into silence did that which is immoral that they wouldn't want befalling them, so they're automatically inconsistent and hypocritical. Free speech is the moral high ground. You can't get higher than that moral high ground. And the other layer to this is, he says the Trump decision has not yet been made. Yes, it has. It's already been made in the realm of free speech. Trump has the right to freedom of speech, whether you agree with him or not. As much as I disagree with Barack Obama and creepy Uncle Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I never want anybody to force them into silence. Why? Because I think that we on our side have better ideas that rival their ideas because they're moral ideas. They're morally based ideas. And how will you ever have your position challenged unless you listen to somebody who disagrees with you? How will you ever have the key to unlock yourself from the door of your echo chamber unless somebody has some competing idea or ideology to throw into the market of ideas? You can't. It's a dangerous thing to start silencing voices. Even though you're vehemently against them, I don't even want the Communist News Network or ABC or NBC or Faux News silenced. Let them speak and spew their nonsense. Let them throw out their ideas, whether they're right or not. Because it would be utterly immoral for me to say, no, I want them forced into silence. I want you to force them into silence because I can't govern my own eye gates and ear gates. If you don't want to listen to Faux News, turn it off. If you don't like Tucker Carlson, turn it off. If you don't like Chris Hayes from MSLSD or Rachel Madcow, turn them off. Don't tell somebody else to silence Rachel Madcow. He says the Trump decision has not yet been made. Yes, it has. It's been made in the realm of free speech. And who else made that decision? Elon Musk, before he bought Twitter. Let me show you. This is from the New York Post. This is dated on May 10th, 2022. Says Elon Musk said that he would reverse the Twitter ban on former President Donald Trump once he officially takes over the social media platform. We'll get into that quote in a second here. The Tesla tycoon, whose $44 billion takeover bid was accepted by Twitter's board of directors last month, made the comment Tuesday during an interview with the Financial Times. I had the Financial Times up here a second ago, but here's the quote. Permanent ban should be extremely rare and really reserved for accounts that are bots or spam accounts. I do think it was not correct to ban Donald Trump, Musk said. It was not correct to ban Donald Trump, says Elon Musk, the now owner of Twitter. I think it was a mistake because it alienated a large part of the country and did not ultimately result in Donald Trump not having a voice. Bad answer. It doesn't matter if it alienates the country. Is it free speech? It doesn't matter who it offended. Is it free speech? It doesn't matter if he has a voice on another platform or not, and he can pivot because he's a resourceful kind of guy. The question is there freedom of speech? And should that freedom of speech be defended? Always, everywhere, at all times, free speech should be defended by everyone. Why? Because if you don't, you're a hypocrite. If you don't defend free speech, you don't defend your speech. Liberal, conservative, independent, it doesn't matter. If you don't defend free speech, you're not defending your own speech or your mother's speech or your father's speech or people that you love. You're not defending their speech if you don't defend the speech of somebody you disagree with. Period. I'm making an absolute statement and I stand by it. If you don't, then I want to hear the opposing party, the opposing argument. Here's what he says. Here he goes right here. I would reverse the permanent ban. Then why haven't you done it? So not only you in violation of free speech, you're in violation of your own word. Elon Musk, if you happen to be listening to little peon Brian Young from Grease Monkey Videos, stop violating your own word. You said you would reverse the permanent ban. It doesn't matter what your poll says. You should have freedom of speech. It can never be up for vote or poll. You said you would do it, so go ahead and do it. This reminds me of those cops out there who say that I will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and yet they turn around and become the very domestic enemies that they swore to protect the people from. Musk added, I don't own Twitter yet, so this is not like a thing that will definitely happen, because what if I don't own Twitter? Well, guess what? You do own Twitter and you do have the power, and you haven't done it. You haven't kept your word so far. You have to reinstate Trump because you said you would. What kind of man doesn't keep his word? Oh, that's right. An unfaithful man who revels in lying. Because that's what you've done. If you said you're going to do something and then you have the power to do it and then you don't do it and then you put it up for poll, what do you think? And then you hem-haw around about it, you're not being a man of integrity. You're not being a man of honesty. You're not being a man who stands behind his word. So getting back to this right here, it's super important to understand what free speech is. And it's super important to understand what happens when you don't have free speech or you start playing, loosey-goosey with free speech. Oh, I'll ban this person, but I won't ban this person. And then you become inconsistent and hypocritical and a freaking liar. He says new Twitter policy is freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. He says negative hate tweets. Who's gonna define that? Who's gonna determine what a hate tweet is? Will be max deboosted and demonetized, so no ads or other revenue on Twitter. You won't find the tweet unless you specifically seek it out, which is no different from the rest of the internet. And then he says, note, this applies just to the individual tweet, not the whole account. And that's when he says Kathy Griffin, Jordan Peterson, the Babylon Bee have been reinstated, and the Trump decision has not yet been made when it should have, because he promised that he would do it. He says, fascinating to watch the Twitter Trump poll. Yeah, it is fascinating. It is fascinating to watch this. It's fascinating, disheartening, and infuriating. I just wrote under there, the fact that this poll is so close tells you just how mentally frail the general population is. If you've got that many people who are really willing to have a third party force you into silence, that tells you everything you need to know about their human heart. They're going to force you against your will into silence and force the people who wants to hear the person you just forced into silence not be able to hear that person because you already forced them into silence. Then I just said they would rather have a third party forced into silence, thereby penalizing millions of willing listeners, than govern the affairs of their own lives. And really, it is as simple as that, guys. You can turn off the internet. You don't have to listen to what Donald Trump has to say. You don't ever have to listen to one more word of Joe Biden. You see him come on the TV, you got your remote control, go ahead and sit in the comfort of your couch and just click it and go, I'm not going to listen to Joe Biden, instead of going, yeah, congressman or senator, we need to get rid of that guy. Tell Mark Zuckerberg to get him off of Facebook, and tell Elon Musk to get him off of Twitter. That's weak. That's weak-minded. That's mentally frail. That's mental fragility. And I just want to, I'm going to leave this, let's see, what are we, already been gabbing my mouth for 14 minutes. Listen, here's what Benjamin Franklin says: without freedom of thought, and you tell me if you agree with it. I'm not quoting this because I think Benjamin Franklin is a god or anything. Oh, by the way, speaking of God, let me show you something else. Something else that Elon Musk tweeted. He said, Vox Populi, Vox Dei. You know what that means? It means the voice of the people is the voice of God. Really? Really? What if the majority of the people say that Donald Trump should be banned from the internet? What if the majority of the people say that Alex Jones should be banned from the internet? Then you should be okay with the millions of people saying that Elon Musk should be banned from the internet, or Joe Smith should be banned from the internet. The voice of the people is not always the voice of God. As a matter of fact, the voice of the people usually equates to the majority, and the majority is usually wrong. Is God wrong? The voice of the people, the majority of the people, is usually wrong. They're usually heading in the wrong direction. They're usually calling for immorality. They're usually ingrained and embroiled in the cult of personality. They're usually drinking the Kool-Aid, the majority of the people. I don't agree with Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Because we know, historically speaking, it's not true. Look at how many people followed Adolf Hitler. Look how many people followed Joseph Stalin or Mussolini or Pol Pot or Mao Zedong. The majority of the people are usually wrong. They're usually making the wrong decisions, following the wrong people, calling for the wrong things. And it's usually force and violence against innocent people who haven't done anything wrong. So Elon Musk is violating his own word. So without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing. Trot Golfer says, Brian, is Twitter a private company? Yeah, but Elon Musk constantly said, hey, this is going to be a free speech platform. Well, is it free speech or isn't it? I'm going to reinstate Donald Trump. Well, are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? I mean, you say you're going to do all these things. You say you're for freedom of speech. And then you say, well, all the frontline doctors, I don't see, somebody even said that. I think it was 5 times August. Let me see. Let me go over here. Reinstate President Donald Trump. It was one of he said, what else should I do with Twitter? Twitter's like open source. Let me see. Oh, what should I do? What should Twitter do next? He says. This person says, bring back Alex Jones. He says, no. I covered this last night on my live stream. That means if you're not going to bring AJ back, then you're not for freedom of speech. You've caved to something. You've believed something out there, Elon Musk, that warrants you going, no, Alex Jones is just way too bad to bring him back. We can't do that. 5 times August says, bring back all the suspended doctors and scientists and medical professionals, that got suspended off of most of the platforms for speaking what a lot of people are now saying, oh, that was the truth the whole time. Oh, the people have been lying to us. The people who said, oh, can you get a little schmutz with that? Of course you can. Of course you can. The boiks of the world, or the St. Anthony fraudsters of the world. Oh, we're finding out it's kind of a different story of that. The big pharma industrial complexes of the world. So just some food for thought here. Do you agree with what Benjamin Franklin says here? Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech. Jefferson said, reason and free inquiry are the only effectual agents against error. And how can you have free inquiry? And how can you have reasonable debate if you start silencing voices that you don't agree with or it offends you? For if men are to be precluded from offering their sentiments on a matter, which may involve the most serious and alarming consequences that can invite the considerations of mankind, reason is of no use to us. The freedom of speech may be taken away, says George Washington. The freedom of speech may be taken away, and dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. When people talk of freedom of writing, speaking, or thinking, I cannot choose but laugh. No such thing ever existed. No such thing now exists, but I hope it will exist. But it must be hundreds of years after you and I shall write and speak no more. In those wretched countries where a man cannot call his tongue his own, he can scarce call anything his own. In other words, if you don't have freedom of speech, if you don't have freedom of expression, freedom to express yourself and tell people how you feel, you ain't got nothing. You don't have anything to call your own. And if you start letting people tackle freedom of speech, then you're going to let them tackle property rights and freedom of religion and freedom of, to petition your government for redress of grievances. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech, a thing terrible to public traitors. Free speech, traitors and tyrants hate speech. They hate transparency. They hate honesty. They hate integrity. And they hate the cameras that bring all that to the table. You go to a police department, they freak out when you have a camera, when they've got 10 cameras pointed directly at you, and they're going to be uncomfortable for one more camera. Oh, that's right. It's because they're not in control of that camera, and they're not in control of what happens to the content on that camera, because it may make them look bad. And as I've said many, many times before, politicians and cops and all these people who don't like the camera around, if they were honest people full of integrity and they had their heart set on doing the right thing for the public, which they claim to serve, then they wouldn't mind a camera being in there, because they'd be like, hey, we're the good guys. We want you to catch us doing good things, because that's all we do all day is good things. The reason they don't want the cameras on is because they don't want to be held liable for the criminal activity they're about to foist against you when they trample your Fourth Amendment rights, saying, well, we need to get a drug dog. We think we smelled some marijuana in your car. And then they fake hit on it, and that gives them the right to make you insecure in your person's houses, papers, and effects, in total violation of the Fourth Amendment, which they said they would protect, defend, and uphold. So getting back to this Elon Musk Twitter, YouTube or Twitter poll, to reinstate former Trump. Number one, freedom of speech is an unalienable right that is never, ever, ever up for vote. It's never, ever up for a poll. Number two, Elon Musk said he would reinstate him before he bought Twitter. And now that he owns Twitter, he's going to play, he's going to play games with us. That's not a man of integrity. If you said you were going to reinstate him, just go ahead and reinstate him. If he breaks your rules afterwards, then go ahead and take care of him. But then I would question, what rules do you really have in place to safeguard freedom of speech? Number three, that brings us to number three, is he said Twitter's going to be a free speech platform. It's going to be a haven for people who want to exercise free speech and distribute free thought. Not doing it. And the fourth thing I want to just take away from this, with a 47.7, and it looks like the gap is closing since we even started this video, and there's a lot of people who've liked it and retweeted this, and now we've got 12,260,000 votes. 47.7 say, hey, it's okay for us to force you into silence and to force all your potential listeners to not be able to hear what you have to say. Force them against their will without their consent. The very thing that these 47.7%, this should be reinstate President Trump 100% yes, 0% no. And even if it was 1% no, that's the 1% you want to stay away from, because they want to force you against your will into silence. Government, they're treating themselves, they're viewing themselves as government. And like Washington said, government is not eloquence, it's not reason, it's force. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. If you guys got something out of this video, hit the like button right now before you leave, or you'll forget. So there's 200 likes in here right now. Let's see if we can get up to 300 likes before we end this video. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. I've got a lot of videos that people aren't watching because I've got this channel is heavily shadow banned for some reason. I don't know why, but take a look at some of my YouTube shorts. I try to strive to create content that's going to be useful and evergreen. In other words, it's always going to be relevant in any and all age. No matter whatever video clip I put out, whatever commentary I try to add to it, I try to add value to your life, because the best thing that we can do in this life is make this life better for ourselves and our children. And the only way to do that is to constantly trumpet truth. Truth is the new hate speech. Truth is treason in the empire of lies. And truth is the first casualty in any war, including this information war. I appreciate you guys joining. If you want to donate to the channel, do it through, you can look at the link underneath the videos. It's, buy me a coffee or Cash App or whatever, or grab a hard-hitting conversation starting shirt. I think it's 20% off now through tomorrow at midnight. On everything in the store. You can put the design in any shirt, hoodie, mug, or whatever you want. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the 241 likes. Thanks for dropping by. I will see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban live stream. Like and share this video. See you later.